make sure. Ray, can you hear me, man?
Hey, Ken, you got me?
Yep, gotcha. Okay, is the video coming through and everything?
Video's
Yep, I've
coming
got
through.
you.
Yep.
Yep, perfect, perfect. Okay, well, hey, that's
Well, that was easy
awesome.
enough.
Yeah, right now I feel kind of dumb.
I know I've never,
Let's see.
well, you learn something new every day, right? But no,
Yeah.
I was looking up the Zoom to see how to assign a co-host, and they were like, yep, you got to start the meeting first, and then you can appoint. So that's fine.
All right. I'm gonna add this in here. Hey, did you want to add at the end like the 3 key or 4 key takeaways from the presentation? I don't know if you had anything like that. Hey guys, to recap, here's what you want to pull out of this that's going to be important. Anything
Yeah.
like that?
Yeah, we can add that. I mean, I was planning on elaborating on the how we can help, in that
Okay, good.
sense.
Yeah, good. Cool. That's fine.
Looks like we got we got a couple early birds in here.
Nice.
Dr.
Good to go.
Delgado's in here. Oh man.
All right. We're good to go. Awesome. Well, we will get started on time. Awesome. Okay, there we go.
Let me know if you can see my presentation, by the way. I'm just testing that out.
Yeah, I got you here. Well, I can see you. There we go. Yeah, it was kind of crazy. Actually, meeting with I was meeting with a group in South Florida. It was a language and literacy and learning organization.
Mm-hmm.
It was a Zoom call, kind of like this, and they just got inspected. It did not go well for them. Yeah, no joke. Like I think she said they had about 280. Like I got to go back and look. It was something like 280, $290,000 in fines
Oh wow.
just in their assessment. And it was this is the it's kind of crazy. I think we forget that OSHA is a heavily funded you know branch. It's heavily funded by
Yeah.
government funds, and it's kind of easy to, I think, for companies who, like mine was, kind of stay focused in your lane a little bit, and sometimes think, okay, well, I'll get to it. In reality, it's just things that sort of build up over time that create some issues. So, kind of crazy, man. But yeah, that's just funny. We're talking about this today, and that conversation came up. So kind of crazy. Crazy
Is
deal.
is there is there going to be any consequences or anything from that or
As far as, yeah, I'm sure there will be. She was seemed kind of worried.
yeah.
We were kind of trying to help them out from a enrollment standpoint, so it was kind of a totally different world we were just trying to assist them with. But um, uh, it does appear there's going to be some serious repercussions that come as that part of that. But this has just happened the
Actually,
last couple of weeks.
I found a article straight from the OSHA.gov site, and this was released early January 2023. How penalties are going up in dollar amount, and
Mm, yeah,
in terms of these fines, it depends on how serious the offense is. If it's a
mhm.
repeated violation. Is it a willful violation? But I mean, it runs just north of starting at $14,000 per violation, and
Yeah, yeah,
I mean, it can go up to the hundred thousands.
yeah,
Just
yeah. It's
just
crazy.
depending on the severity.
Yeah, I mean the story I'll share today about that mesh manufacturer here in Jacksonville back in 2013. They had 22 violations, and I mean it was everything ranging from small $11,000 violations to up to half a million for a lot of things that they failed to inspect or have addressed. So yeah, there's a lot, man. What's frustrating is there's no way to well, I guess there is, but it's difficult to kind of predict if you do violate, okay, what are we looking at fine
Sure.
wise? And
Sure.
that's another added stress, I think, for a lot of owners, operators, is they go, okay, hey, we have these violations. We know that's occurred. Now, what's it going to hurt? Like, how's this going to hurt us? And how much? And unfortunately, they don't know until they receive it, So I'm one of those that likes to be prepared for that kind of thing,
You got to
And when you
be.
can't prepare, it hurts. Yeah.
Gotta be. It's well, especially in healthcare, it's
Yeah.
federally mandated. You gotta have it.
Yeah. Oh,
There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. And
yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
hopefully this topic sheds some light on that, I think, and
Yeah.
you know, shows the importance.
I think it will. I think it will. And guys, everybody that's just joining, I want to let you know we wanted to hop on here and make sure that we don't have any hiccups in our presentation, so that you guys get the value that you're looking for out of this presentation. So I think we have about 9 minutes, right, Ray?
Yep.
1:35 start
Yeah,
time.
we're starting at 1:35, and yep, got about 9 minutes here.
If you guys want to grab that, I don't know how many of you are like me and are on your fourth cup of coffee by 1:30. But if that's something you want to go grab, we'll be here for sure. But Ray and I are just sort of getting caught up on some of the OSHA drama that's occurred here in the last few years around our network. So, but I think this will be good, man. I'm looking forward to this for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
Let's see. Dun, dun, dun. Oh, it's funny. I was thinking about this, and so my background is heavily aviation centered, and aviation, when you have commercial aircraft, they have to go through what's called a 100-hour inspection and then an annual inspection. So a 100-hour inspection can be done by pretty any mechanic, and it's basically just a general review of the aircraft, its functionalities, and make sure it's all up to date, and that's about it. Then you have an annual inspection where the components of the aircraft are disassembled. It's far more involved, and it requires a licensed airframe and power plant mechanic to go through it. So it's a bigger deal, much more expensive. But it's just kind of funny because that's similar to how it is with OSHA and fire extinguishers and lighting tests. Is you sort of have that monthly requirement, right? And then you have that annual requirement. I may share that today if the desire strikes, but we'll see. But it's just funny. There are a lot of similarities, and the one thing that commonality, the common thread behind all of that is the government entity side of it, right? It's just Murphy's law. If something can go wrong, it likely will. So you want to make sure you address any potential hazards.
Well, not even that. It's there's so much going on. Another thing that's often overlooked as well is training. And employees need to be trained in this. Yeah. Need to know the ins and outs and its requirement. And that's a story that I'm going to share. We've had a client around the springtime of last year, radiology group, mid-sized level organization located in Florida, received an OSHA inspection from the state. So that's something as well. There's OSHA, federal law and state governments, and they had somebody from the state that came out, wanted to see that their staff is trained and educated in these areas. And obviously, them being a client of ours,
well, yeah,
they have the logs, they have the training access, and
what did that look like? So what they were looking for was actual logs.
Yeah, they wanted to see logs. They wanted to see that their staff was trained and educated in OSHA. And in other words, they want to see some sort of certificate to show proof that, hey, my staff is taking this course. Yeah. We've learned about fire extinguishers, learned about how emergency lights work. And it's one of those boxes that, just needs to be checked. And it went as far. Obviously, we were able to protect this client. But it went as far as the inspector himself actually asked for the lecture slides for our presentation. And, sometimes, they just want to see the certificates. They're checking you off, but this guy was he was really looking. So
Jeez.
we were able to provide those slides, and obviously after that, he sort of checked them off and moved on. But goes to show.
How long ago was that?
About spring of last year. Yeah.
Okay, it's pretty recent. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So
wow. I wonder how post 2020, like post COVID, if it, well, I guess it wouldn't have tightened up. And this is just hypothetical. I'm just kind of thinking through this. I wonder if post COVID there was a more aggressive pursuit of those businesses that still operate in a brick and mortar, capacity, where inspection and those requirements are going to be massive, versus something where it's a little lessened in a remote type of environment, but still have those requirements.
Sure.
I'm just kind of curious what those numbers would have looked like. I'd love to do a report on that.
Yeah, it would be interesting. I can tell you before COVID, used to work for a weight loss center, and we actually did receive an inspection, not for necessarily the fire extinguishers and emergency lights, but just general, OSHA inspection. They want to see that we're trained. Like I said, when it comes down to this training, it needs to be done annually. And this person came in, wanted to see those training certificates, and another small tidbit to that, which is in the federal mandate, is any new employee that's working for your organization has to have the training completed for OSHA within 10 days.
It's 10 days?
10 days, yeah.
Oh, I thought it was a little bit longer than that. That's crazy. No. 10 days now. Wow.
10 days. Any new employee that's just coming on board with you have to have it done within a 10-day period. Goodness
gracious.
And it's interesting because it's almost like, well, how do you track that? I guess, if you can go as far as the inspector can go as far as, accessing the employment records. And, I guess if you're off, then, I don't know how severe of an offense that is, but it is interesting. It's in the regulation. So
and I'll be honest with you, I didn't realize it was 10 days. So that's good to know. Hey guys, everybody that's joining now, thank you for jumping in. We're going to get started here in 3 minutes. 3 minutes. So any last minute things you guys have to go do, knock it out, make it happen. I think, I escaped a moment ago and got my water. So,
got mine here.
Voice won't go out. Sound like a
it's just a quick 20 minutes, right? We should be able to knock it out.
That's right.
Provide all the information our attendees need. I mean, it's valuable information here. So
quick and easy. That's exactly right. Yeah.
Hey, Ken, by the way, I'm sharing my presentation. I just want to make sure that you can see that.
Let me make sure. I'm not seeing anything right now. I see your camera, but I do not see your presentation. All right, now I see it.
Okay, great. I'm just going to leave that up.
That's good. Let me pull this up here. Whoops. Here we go. Good deal. And 2 more minutes and we'll get underway.
Yeah.
2 more to go. But yeah, that's crazy. Yeah, I had no idea. I mean, I guess that makes sense, right? But I wonder if that was a recent change. I feel kind of dumb. I feel like I should have known that. But
I don't know if it's how recent it is. I'll have to look into that, but it's definitely in the legislation. Wow. Interesting. Maybe it's a post-COVID thing,
Could be, yeah, yeah, possibly. Kind of goes back to what we were talking about before. So yeah, 100%. I get that. Okay, well, I think you go letting a few more minutes or maybe a minute or so, letting the last.
We'll wait 1 more minute and we'll get it going. We'll let people join in as they go. I mean, at the end of the day, this is being recorded, and recording will be sent out to everybody that attended the video. And if you missed anything, you can always refer back to that.
Excellent. Well, we appreciate you early birds that came in and joined us for a little behind the scenes pre-talk. I love it.
Pep talk. Hey,
that's it.
Got to make sure the tech's working. All right.
I love it. love it. So good.
So let's go ahead and get started. It's 1:35, and
let's do it.
Don't want to keep anybody over. I'm sure some of you guys might be using your lunchtime. Some of you guys might still be in the morning, but we'll get this going. So good afternoon, good morning. My name is Ray Walters. I'm going to be your host today, and with my co-host, Mr. Kenneth Wood, who's my partner and business owner. And today's topic, we're going to be discussing monthly test checks of emergency lights and fire extinguishers as part of OSHA regulation. And again, we are going to be doing these webinars weekly, every Tuesday. It's going to be a varying topic, but our goal with these webinars is we want to educate you, create the awareness, and guide you through maintaining a compliance organization step by step. And like I said, today's agenda, we're going to be covering the OSHA requirements for emergency lights and fire extinguishers. Have a couple real life stories we want to share that if you were in here, we kind of talked a little bit about it, but want to share those real life stories through you. Why? Because again, very important topic. If you're in healthcare, this isn't something that you can necessarily get by without doing. You got to keep up with your emergency lights, your fire extinguishers, have to keep those inspected regularly and follow the regulations. So, I'm going to go ahead and move to the next slide here. And just to give you guys a little background of EPI compliance, we were founded in 2013. EPI compliance was developed by leading healthcare professionals, over 40 years of industry experience. And, what do we specialize in? We specialize in healthcare compliance solutions and training solutions, designed specifically for healthcare organizations and business associates. We cover 4 facets to compliance. We cover OSHA for healthcare, HIPAA privacy, HIPAA security, and Medicare waste, fraud, and abuse. Also, just wanted to mention as well, we founded EPI conferences as well. And just to kind of give you a little backstory on that, it's an annual conference that we host. The point behind it is healthcare innovation and compliance. And one of our founders created a HIPAA security officer training program. So if we have any administrators, any office managers in this room, this is a course that we will be offering online. And just to kind of give you a brief description of this course, again, if you're an admin, office manager, this is going to give you sort of a deeper dive into HIPAA security and laws like HITECH Act and Omnibus Rule. And it's very useful. Again, it gives you an overview of HIPAA. And, again, if you're a compliance officer, it's definitely a good course to have under your belt. And again, this is something that we're offering exclusively at our in-person events, but this is something that we will be offering here in the near future online. So stay tuned with that. And without further ado, what are we talking about today? Are emergency lights and fire extinguishers required to be inspected? Yes, they are.
Yep.
A hard yes. It's federally mandated by OSHA. All businesses, including healthcare organizations, must inspect their fire light or their emergency lights and exit lights. Failing to comply with these regulations can lead to severe consequences. And I think Ken had a story.
Yeah. In fact, if I can, man, I'd love to expound on that a little bit. This kind of hits close to home. I know we have a broad audience out there, probably scattered all throughout the country. I'm actually here in Jacksonville, Florida, and I would say it was back in 2013. And just so you guys know, I believe this is online, so you can back me up on this. But there was this mesh manufacturing company here in Jacksonville, Florida, back in, as I said, 2013. There was a machine worker, who had dropped a railing bar into one of the machines that was going to threaten the operability of basically the plant itself. So he had gone in and tragically was struck by the machine in the head and killed him. So yeah, right. So I mean, as you'd imagine, this brought with it investigation and massive amounts of fines. And what you'll find is if you look that situation up, what you'll discover is that there were 22, I think, violations total that ranged from $11,000 in total to $500,000 in total fines. The tragic part of this being that this gentleman's life was cut short because a lot of what they thought, this manufacturer been around for 40 years, what they thought was just sort of expected day-to-day business operations, they turned sort of a blind eye to the side of standards and regulations that are trying to exist, while they do seem constraining and tightening that kind of exist to make sure that these businesses can operate in a safe manner. I do think we often use the term, we got to be safe, and it's just sort of as a blanket, and that's not true. We genuinely have to. Ray, you and I were talking a moment ago. My background is heavily involved in aviation, and if you guys have been following the Elon Musk, SpaceX, and Starship stuff, you'll realize just how involved the FAA is with safety and all of this, and we have to remember, we live in a very litigious work environment now, right? It is just that is the reality. And when you look at OSHA being as funded as they are, I think the new budget in 2024, and correct me if I'm wrong, is like $730 or $740 million. So they are funded very well. And so we really, it is critical that we take them seriously, that we really take them seriously. So this business, this mesh organization, is kind of a crazy story because for all intents and purposes, when they operated with their clients, they had incredible reviews all throughout that period, just top notch. They've been doing it for years and years. And then it shuts down their operation or hurts their operation so significantly. And when they go and dig into that report, they discover that, hey, fire extinguishers were expired. There was no well-lit paths. That exit sign where the E is just sort of blinking, that's a big deal. And you got to make sure that those things are up to date. Because the reality is, yes, because of the litigious society that we do live in, us as business owners, it is absolutely critical, unequivocally, it is critical that we meet those standards. And I think, Ray, you'll allude to it here in just a moment as we kind of dive into what those are and kind of what those consequences are. But I did want to share that with you guys because I think it's super important.
No, good point. And just out of curiosity, that situation, was there, obviously fines was incurred. Did that company go out of business? Or, I checked,
the first time I heard about that story was in 2015. So it was 2 years after it occurred and they had shut down. There is another mesh manufacturing company that's operating in the same facility I don't know if it's the same one. But I would be curious. I can look that up and find out, but I would assume that probably not.
Yeah. Either that or that, I would assume that if they were to stay in business, a lot of people lost their jobs,
Oh yeah. 100%. I see. Yeah, absolutely.
But no, alluding to the fact, yes, let's look at the consequences, right? Of situations like this. Obviously, non-compliance with these regulations can have serious consequences. It can involve heavy fines, risk of bodily harm, lawsuits, property damage, and again, even loss of the business. And again, as I alluded to, these fines, depending on, the amount, it could put, depending on the size of your organization, it could really, it could create a loss of business. And, that's not what we want. That's what we're trying to avoid here, right? By giving you this information. But again, cannot emphasize enough of the importance of OSHA compliance. And just wanted to dive into the facts here. So this is actually the OSHA regulation, OSHA 29. That CFR stands for Code of Federal Regulation. If you guys are interested in what that means,
nailed it.
1910 subpart A, right? And it states it mandates all emergency lights, fire extinguishers must undergo monthly and annual inspections. Again, they also require that your employees are trained and educated in these areas. And there's even a small tidbit that says your local and state authorities may also enforce additional rules. So this is where I want to allude to a story. I want to share a story of ours. We had a client last year in the springtime, located in Florida, Sarasota to be exact, a radiology group. And they went through a state inspection. They had somebody from the Florida Department of Health that walked into their office, and they were asking to see that they had OSHA training. And one of the topics that they specifically wanted to see is if it was if the training covered emergency lights and fire extinguisher safety. So again, this is a client of ours, and part of our comprehensive compliance solutions, we offer, online training in these in education in these areas. We also offer policies, procedures, logs that keep track of these things as well. So thankfully, this client was able to provide that information to this inspector. This inspector did go as far as he actually requested that he review our lecture slides, which, believe it or not, doesn't happen often. But it goes to show that, they're taking an extra step, right? Like I said, thankfully we were able to provide those slides to our client, no problem. Inspector ended up checking them off and moving on. But again, it just goes back to, this is something that you have to have in place, and obviously have a process for. But let's dive into a little bit of what these monthly and annual inspections entail. Ken, if you want to elaborate on this a little bit.
Yeah, I would actually. I appreciate that. And I know you'll go into this
Sure.
in greater detail, but from a high level, guys, I look at it this way. You have your monthly and you have your annual inspections, and we'll talk about the fire extinguisher inspections first here. These are going to be performed, like, if you look at it from a monthly standpoint, okay, think of this as passing the visual and minimal physical observation of the extinguisher and the lights, making sure everything is operating as it should. I kind of liken it back to something for our early birds who jumped in earlier and heard Ray in my conversation. I was talking about an aviation background, and in aviation, what happens is you have commercial aircraft, and those commercial aircraft have to go through two inspections. One, they have to go through a 100-hour inspection, which is sort of just a general observation of the aircraft mechanics, making sure it's working properly. Think like that. The same thing for your fire extinguisher is that monthly check that the owner does to the device itself, making sure there's no leaks, the hose is good, and all of that. So you want to make sure of that. Then you have an annual inspection, and just like in an annual inspection for an aircraft, where you have an actual licensed airframe and power plant mechanic that has to disassemble many aspects and many components of that aircraft to ensure its operability per FAA rules and regulations, you have the same thing for a fire extinguisher, where you actually have to have a licensed fire protection agent. Now, that could be somebody from, the local firehouse or a bureau, but they will come out annually. And this is, and I'm telling you this, guys, because it's so important. This is one of those that is so easily overlooked in a lot of brick and mortar operatives, right? Or operations. It is such an easy thing that's overlooked, and it can't, because it's one of those things that they can ding you for, and you don't want that costing your company money. So listen, over the course of these webinar series, we're going to cover a slew of topics that address this. But for the fire extinguisher, it's one of those things that you should be able to address very easily and document the date of inspection. Be as thorough as you can. I think of it this way, and people kind of think it's silly, but I have a 6-year-old and a 1-year-old daughter. Both of them are accident prone. If I see my 1-year-old crawling over to the fireplace, I sit there and I think, oh dear, there is a massive cinder block right in front of the fireplace. All it takes is her, haphazardly falling, banging her head. It's really thinking of it from that side of things, almost thinking of it going, what could go wrong here? And let's address it before it becomes an issue, right? And that's the same thing that happens with fire extinguishers. And as you'll allude to here in just a moment, lighting. Exit lighting. Yep. So I just want to kind of hit that a little bit. Look, that fire inspection agent annually is going to check things like, and you can check me on this, but I think it's going to be like physical damage, mechanical components, even the weight from last inspection, the difference in weight of that canister. So really interesting things that they take a deep dive look into. So it does kind of require a little bit more than just going, oh, okay, it looks okay. Right.
Right. No, good point. As far as emergency lights go, I mean, it's pretty clear cut and dry, in the regulation, what they state, involve a 30-second test on the battery. So, and again, this is within the office setting, but involve a 30-second test on the battery, operated emergency and exit lights. If you guys have them, hopefully you do. There's a little button on that light that you push, you hold it down for 30 seconds, and it should it's a push to test button for a minimum of 30 seconds, and obviously the alarm should be going off, and it shouldn't be, like Ken mentioned earlier, blinking a light. Also with the annual inspection, this is something that is stated that these annual inspections are typically required by an external party. And correct me if I'm wrong, Ken, it's in terms of the external party or the person you want to speak with to conduct these tests is a licensed fire protective technician. Is that right?
Yeah, a licensed protective agent or technician. Yeah, exactly. In fact, typically they do it from a hierarchical level. So they'll say, the company is a licensed fire protection organization or company, and all the agents within it are servicing, but yes, you technically want to look for, whether individual or company wise, a licensed fire protection agent. Yeah, 100%.
Yep. And you can honestly just do a simple Google search. And there's, like I said, this is something that you can do in your local, this Google search, and a slew of companies will come up. Obviously, pick the one that's most reputable. As far as those technicians, you can find them anywhere.
For sure.
In your state. But that pretty much sums the in terms of the inspection, or I'm sorry, in terms of the inspection and maintenance of these lights. Like I said, just make sure that the push to test, it's working, alarm's going off, make sure it's not blinking or anything like that. Other than that, change the battery, right? Also, more important as well, keep log of these tests as well. Again, it's as simple as, hey, I inspected this day, this month, create a log for it. EPI compliance, we also provide our clients with these sort of logs as well. We make it simple for them so they don't have to, sit there and spend the time to do these things. But make sure you're maintaining those records, because at the end of the day, if you are dealing with an OSHA inspector, they could potentially ask to review that. They want to see that you are documenting these things. So kind of went over this, Ken, you kind of touched this point. So I think it's safe to say I'm going to breeze over this, but just one thing to add regarding the fire extinguisher, sort of same process. Make sure that you're keeping a monthly log of this as well. Make sure the fire extinguisher is intact, make sure that it's not expired, little things like that. Make sure you're keeping track.
Well, actually, we have a question kind of similar to that same thing, real quick.
Sure.
How often would you need to check each? Basically, how often do we need to check each?
Each extinguisher?
Yeah.
The regulation states monthly.
Okay.
You want to make sure you're checking those on a monthly basis. Make sure that you're keeping a log of it as well. Like I said, EPI compliance, we have solutions. We have logs sort of already templated and built into our compliance solutions, where you can just go in, obviously you would go in, physically inspect the extinguisher, and then you can log and maintain it through that log. And it's sort of stored in one place so that you can refer to it each month. But in terms of the requirement, what it states, pretty cut and dry. Inspect your fire extinguisher on a monthly basis.
Okay. Very good. Very good.
So, let's kind of recap on what we talked about. Again, fire extinguishers, inspection, emergency exit light inspection. These are requirements of OSHA. What are sort of the solutions to this? As we mentioned, you want to conduct monthly and annual inspections of these items, and obviously you want to meticulously document all activities regarding these as well. And then I mentioned this earlier in my story. Staff has to be trained and educated in these areas, and I mentioned this before we started the webinar, but one thing that I recently discovered with OSHA is when it comes down to OSHA training, you have any new hires, got to have the training. They want the training to be completed within 10-day period. Definitely a good tidbit there. Make sure that, I always recommend this as well. Whenever you get a new staff member on board, guess what? Their first, their first priority is completing all their compliance training. So you're kind of getting it knocked out of the way. And, obviously in terms of the federal requirement with that, they want to see that your staff is trained and educated in these areas each year. So in other words, it's an annual process for that training. Anything to add to that, Ken?
No, I just got to tell you that blows my mind. Within 10 days is I didn't realize that. So I learned that just before our webinar here.
Yeah.
Or are you good? We're on that time frame now, but we good to take a couple questions, you think?
Yeah, let's go ahead and do that. Just real quick. This is the last slide, and then we'll open up for a Q&A. Apologies, we're a little over time, but we're still going to do a short Q&A. But just one thing I want to throw here, if you're a student, you're an admin, you're an employee for a healthcare organization, a physician, et cetera, as I mentioned, have to be trained and educated with OSHA. We offer a free solution. And again, this information here, I'm going to be sending you guys out an email. It's going to have links to each of these things. But we have a site called EpiCourses. You can take this OSHA course for free. No cost to you. You can have your staff take this training as well. They go through a lecture at the end, they take a test, and at the end of the test, you get a certificate. It's a downloadable PDF document. You can save it for your records. You can print it out, however you guys would like to do that. But definitely want to throw that out there. Very important. If you guys haven't taken your training this year, highly recommend taking advantage. And like I said, it's completely free. Have a couple other solutions as well. If you guys are looking for more so of a bundled training, again, when it comes down to compliance, OSHA's sort of one facet. There's HIPAA privacy, there's HIPAA security, there's Medicare waste, fraud, and abuse. These are all federal requirements. We have a training bundle that essentially offers all these courses in one. And then expounding upon that, I mentioned this earlier. We have a program, Epi Compliance Pro, keeps track of all your logs, all your training, et cetera. It's more of a comprehensive all-in-one solution to you. But other than that, what we can do is open it up for questions and answers. And yeah.
I've got a few that were sent to me here for some attendees. The first one we have is, what are the potential consequences for healthcare organizations if they fail to comply with OSHA's requirements for inspecting emergency lights and fire extinguishers?
That's a good question. And it's funny because I was doing a little bit of research before this, and I'm going to share my screen and just show you what I found. This is actually in the OSHA regulation.
Good. That's all on you then.
Yeah. In other words, when it comes down to these fines, again, it all depends, right? It depends on the situation. It depends on the seriousness of the violation. Was it willful? Is it a repeated violation? But in terms of these fines, they can start off just north of $14,000 per incident. And honestly, depending on the size of your organization, these fines can go up to hundreds of thousands of dollars per violation. I'm actually going to post a link here in the chat for everybody to take a look. What else you got, Ken?
Let's take a look here. We have, got another one. Just popped up. In addition to the required inspections and tests, what other solutions or best practices do you recommend for healthcare organizations to maintain OSHA compliance in relation to emergency lights and fire extinguishers?
Well, I've said it a couple of times, but aside from the, obviously keeping logs, doing the monthly tests, the checks, annual inspections, the training, it's huge. Gotta be trained and educated in these areas. It is a federal requirement. I mentioned this earlier. we offer a free solution for that. I'm actually going to post this in chat as well. It's a link to our Epi Courses site, where you can register for a free OSHA training. Again, take advantage. Like I said, it's a free course. You get a certificate at the end. And like I said, when it comes down to OSHA, got to do these things annually. So why not take advantage?
Excellent. Okay, perfect. And we do have another one. And by the way, I want to thank Caitlin and Shelly for asking those questions in chat as well. Hopefully we've got those answers for you. And then number 3, can you explain in more detail how maintaining a log? Oh, I know where this is going. Okay, can you explain in more detail how maintaining a log of monthly tests and inspections can benefit healthcare organizations, especially from an inspection standpoint?
Well, obviously, at the end of the day, we want to avoid fines, right? And maintaining a record, maintaining these logs. Long story short, if you're dealing with an inspection, and you have these logs prepared, prepped, it's telling that inspector that you're organized, right? And again, when you're organized, lesser chance of fines. In other words, again, you're showing them that you're doing your due diligence, you're following the guidelines and what you need to do. And no, 100%. That is the importance behind keeping record of those logs. And yeah.
Excellent. Okay, cool. Well, listen, I think we're on time. 1 minute over 2 o'clock. Sorry, guys, we kept you for an extra 6 minutes, but hopefully you found what we have in here valuable. And we will, I think, be launching another one here possibly next week. We'll have another webinar. I hope you guys come back for. Ray, you have more information on that by any chance?
Yeah, absolutely. So I mentioned this earlier. We're hosting these webinars on a weekly basis every Tuesday, same time, 1:35 p.m. Eastern Standard. Actually, we're a little more over than this a minute. We're supposed to be 20 minutes long, but hey, it is what it is. I know you guys got some great value out of this, but our next webinar topic is going to discuss electrical safety. So again, another OSHA related topic. We're excited to showcase that to you guys. And obviously, you guys will be getting an email with some information on this webinar, and obviously able to register, as well as some other links that I've included as well regarding the free OSHA course and the regulations and all that good stuff. So just be on the lookout for that. And if you guys have any questions, concerns, please feel free to reach out to us. I'm going to share my screen one more time. Hang on just a second. My presentation closed out, but that's okay. We got it up here.
Good deal. And yeah, Caitlin, we can get all that over to you. Appreciate your involvement and your engagement with us today. Thank you. It will be in the email. And yes, Shelly, you will be getting invites for these webinars. Hopefully you liked it. And we really, again, appreciate your engagement as well. So yeah, Ray, go ahead. Take it over, man.
Yeah, thanks, Shelly. Appreciate it. And again, sorry, it took a second. I just accidentally closed out of my presentation. But again, if you guys need to get a hold of us, this is our information. Again, everybody's going to be receiving an email regardless. You'll have our contact information there, but just wanted to put this here for you as well. But I appreciate everybody's time. Like I said, like Ken said, I hope you found this valuable, and hopefully we'll see you on the next meeting. Take care, guys.